Welcome to The Self-Led Woman. This is a podcast about emotional eating, the experiences that shape our relationships with food, and the path back to self-leadership. These conversations go beneath behavior, held with deep respect for the wisdom of the body and the ways it learned to cope, adapt, and survive. And when we can peel back those layers and meet the parts of ourselves that need care, we begin to see that food was never the problem, and we can return to who we really are. I'm your host, Megan Darnell. Let's dive right in. This episode is an open letter to every woman who is tired of fighting herself. Whoever you are and whoever you are and wherever you are listening from, because I have a feeling if you're here, you already know somewhere deep down that what I'm about to say is true. And you've been waiting maybe for a very long time for someone to just say it out loud. You do not have a willpower problem. You do not have a discipline problem. You are not lazy or greedy or broken or beyond help. You are not someone who just needs to try harder or find the right plan or get serious or to want it badly enough. You have probably been trying harder than anyone around you even knows, quietly and persistently, with a level of determination that most people never have had to apply to anything in their lives. And it has not worked. And the reason it has not worked is not because there is anything wrong with you. It is because you've been trying to solve the wrong problem. And I know this because I was you. For 30 years, I was you. I started dieting when I was around 8 years old. I also grew up being body shamed, and I grew up in the 90s, where the message from every magazine cover, every television screen, and every casual comment from the adults around me was perfectly clear. Being thin was the destination. And if you had not arrived there yet, you were failing at being a woman. Kate Moss was the poster girl. Heroin chic was a trend, and curves were not celebrated, and softness was not celebrated. Bodies that looked like real human bodies were being treated as problems to be managed and disciplined and shrunk into something more acceptable before you could be considered beautiful. And I absorbed all of it. I was only a child and I was a sponge, and the world was very loud about what it thought of bodies like mine. So I arrived at the only conclusion that seemed available to me, that if I could just get thin enough, everything would finally be okay. I would be beautiful, more desirable, more liked, more accepted. I would be loved. I would be more successful. And I genuinely believed with everything that I had that the right body would give me the life that I actually wanted. So I got on the dieting merry-go-round, and I dieted from Monday, every Monday for years. I tried every plan, boot camps and challenges and programs with meal plans, and the clear implication that if I followed the rules carefully enough, I would finally arrive. I took appetite suppressants. I weighed myself constantly, and I let the number on the scale tell me what kind of a day I was going to have. I restricted, then I binged, and I felt the shame of having binged, and then I restricted again, and I punished myself with exercise. I started over and over and over and over again. And each time with the same quiet but desperate hope that this time would be different. Every single time I walked past another woman in the street, I compared myself. Is she thinner than me? Is she more beautiful? Does she have the thing that I'm working toward? And every comparison made it mean something about my worth, my lovability, and my right to feel good in my own skin. I didn't stop until I was 38 years old. 30 years of that. That's not because I was weak or that I didn't want it badly enough, like some assholes on social media will have you believe, but because no one ever told me that the merry-go-round itself was the problem. No one ever helped me to look underneath. Nobody ever asked what the food was actually doing for me, or what need it was meeting that had never been met, what feelings it was helping me manage, and what it was that I had not been able to say out loud. And so I want to ask you that now. Not what have you eaten today, or what does your relationship with food look like, or how long have you been struggling with this, but what is underneath it? What is the feeling that comes just before you reach for food when you're not hungry? What is it that food is doing for you in that moment, and what does it meet that is not being met anywhere else? Because emotional eating is a disconnection problem. It's what happens when we're usually young, something occurs that makes it unsafe for us to feel certain things or to have certain needs. There's something that teaches you that your emotions are too much, or they're not acceptable, or they need to be managed quietly rather than felt and expressed and met. And food becomes a solution. It's loyal, it's available, it's reliable. It's always there when nothing else is. And food fills the gap. It soothes the part of you that has been hurting and waiting and not knowing how to ask for what it actually needs. The food is not the enemy. The food has been doing its job faithfully and without judgment for years. Your emotional eating is not a failure. It is an intelligent adaptation to circumstances that were genuinely hard. And it deserves to be understood as that and not shamed, not punished, not forced into submission through another round of restriction that will work for 2 weeks and then fall apart because it never addressed what was going on. But it is costing you. I know it's costing you. It is costing you the dinner out where you are only half present because the other half of you is in your head. It is costing you the holiday where you spend 2 weeks quietly at war with yourself while pretending to everyone around you that you are having a wonderful time. It's costing you the morning where you stand in front of the mirror negotiating with yourself before you can feel acceptable enough to leave the house. It is costing you the version of your life where you're actually in it fully and with pleasure and without the constant background noise. And you deserve to get that back. You deserve all of it. I want to tell you what's on the other side of this, because I think we spend so much time in this conversation talking about the struggle that we forget to talk about what becomes possible when the healing actually happens. On the other side of this is going out for dinner with someone you love and looking at the menu and ordering whatever you feel like eating. Not what you've calculated is safest, but what genuinely sounds delicious for you in that moment. And then being completely present in that evening, in that conversation, in the simple pleasure of a good meal with someone you care about. On the other side of this is going out for ice cream with your friends on a warm evening and laughing so hard at something that one of your friends says that you nearly drop your ice cream. And the ice cream is just ice cream, and the laughter is just laughter, and there's no voice underneath running calculations or planning compensation. The joy of that moment is simply the joy of that moment. It's complete and it's yours. On the other side of this is going on a European summer holiday and trying all of the things. The local food, the wine, the gelato on a cobblestone street in the afternoon heat. Not as rebellion or as carefully negotiated permission, but simply as part of the experience of being somewhere wonderful and being present enough in your own body to actually taste it and feel it and let it become one of the things you carry home with you. On the other side of this is moving your body because it genuinely feels amazing to do so, because you've come back into a relationship with your body as something you live inside of, rather than manage from the outside. And movement has become one of the pleasures of being alive rather than a debt you pay or a punishment that you administer. On the other side of this is being on a beach somewhere, walking into the water and feeling the colds and the salts and the warmth of the sun on your skin as you float on your back, and being so completely present in that physical experience that there's simply no room left for the other thoughts, the ones about how you look, the ones about who might be watching. They are just not there, because you're too busy actually feeling the water, actually inhabiting your own body, actually being in your life. On the other side of this is getting dressed in the morning and leaving the house. That's it. Just getting dressed and leaving without the negotiation, without the commentary, without the exhausting performance of trying to make yourself feel acceptable enough to be seen, without the standing in front of your mirror and pulling yourself apart. Just getting dressed and going and getting on with your life. That's not a fantasy. That's what becomes possible when women heal this stuff at the root. It's not a perfect relationship with food or the permanent absence of hard days. We all have them. But a life that you can actually inhabit with presence and pleasure and the quiet ease of a woman who has come home to herself. And this is exactly why I do this work in the world. Not because I've have it all figured out, and not because I'm standing somewhere untouched looking back from a safe distance, but because I have been on that merry-go-round. I know every inch of it. I know how convincing it is, how it keeps promising that the next thing, the next plan will be the one that finally changes things, how it's easy to stay on it because at least you feel like you are doing something. At least you have not given up. And I also know what it's like to step off of it, to do the real work, to go back for the parts of myself that learned to use food to cope with what felt unmanageable, and to give those parts what they'd been actually asking for all along. To become a woman who no longer needs the merry-go-round because she has found something so much better on the other side of it. I look at my podcast stats and I can see most of you listening are women aged between 35 and 44. And when I see that, I think about the years, the decades some of you have spent on this, the money, the energy, the hope, the starting over. I think about how ready you are and how tired you are of the surface level bullshit answers and how much you actually want the real one. You are not too far gone. And you've not been on this for too long, and there's no version of this where you've missed your chance. But I want you to hear this clearly. You will not find your way off the merry-go-round through a better diet. You will find your way off it by finally being willing to hear what is underneath, by turning towards the feelings and the parts of you and the old stories that the food has been managing all this time, and giving them the attention and the care that they have been asking for. That's the work. The answers aren't outside in the next plan or the next diet or the next workout. They are inside of you. And when you choose to turn inside and find them, that changes everything. And I will not be done with this work until every single woman finds her way there. This podcast is intended for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for therapy, medical advice, or professional health care. If this episode brings up anything difficult for you, please consider reaching out to a trained healthcare professional, therapist, or support service. In Australia, you can contact Lifeline on 131114 or the Butterfly Foundation National Helpline on 1800 33 4673, which provides support for people experiencing eating disorders and body image concerns. Thank you so much for listening. If this episode resonated, please follow or subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, or share it with someone who might benefit from hearing it. You can also connect with me on Instagram at Megan Darnell Therapy. If you share the episode or want to let me know what landed for you, you're always welcome to message or tag me. I love hearing from you guys. Until next time, I'm Megan Darnell, and this is The Self-Led Woman.